KD Custom Woodworking, and I'm Kevin Dunphy. We're here today to talk about drills and impact. I had a friend who said, I have a drill, I don't need an impact. And what I mean is, he just went out and bought a regular drill. And I tried to explain, I said, well, why didn't you get an impact? He says, I screw in with this. It's the same thing as this. It couldn't be further from the truth. When I say that the impact and a regular drill are totally different animals for drilling. And why guys love them is that we can use extra long screws, and through soft enough material, we will not bind through. That thing will cut through like nothing. It will go right through. This would stop and burn out. And you'd say, well, why do I need two? A lot of times, you want to pre-drill something. You put this in, and then you'll use the impact to finish it. But I'm still not convinced. Why do I want to spend an extra $150? Here's one of the real reasons. I'm going to go through some Baltic birch here, which I can't get anymore in Canada. This is, maybe I'm creating a crime here by screwing it in. But when I go here, I'm far enough back, look at it, I'm hard, like right there I grabbed, but I'm hardly screwing in. Now it's making a liar out of me, because on this one I have a setting. 1, 2, 3. One is the spin, right? That was like a regular drill, it couldn't turn that. Well, what about the regular drill? On the stake, I had the right bit. Okay, well, that's going through. Whoa. So look at that, I'm kind of wobbling here. I'm not having a good time. I got to kind of go like this. Okay, I'm through, but I wasn't having a good time. Okay, is that the bit's fault? Here I'm a little better. But you got to put the pressure on it, because it's only just spinning, so it's a lot more control, and especially when you go in with a longer screw, if you don't pre-drill, if you're on construction, it will wobble a bit. What I mean by that is you're not going to go 100% in. Now, this, I'm going to put to 3 here. This is torque. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, look how easy that is. And you hear the grinding now, because it's going through different material. There's like another chuck there. The first chuck goes, and then the second chuck, it's like a gear reduction. If I'm not explaining this properly, please go in the comments. Just don't make fun of me. And, explain it. But you can see, I could do that all day long with this, right? Now, this one, these are 2 impact drills. One's a atomic, I haven't figured it out, and this one, I don't know what this one is. I'm going to give the models in a minute, because the models with these things are so confusing, it's not even funny. There's atomic, there's XP, there's like this one, this is a compact, but is it an XP? Is it brushless? And they call it the compact series, but I've found a different size. I'm starting to realize they're like all the same. For most of you, I would just search for the best bang for the buck. If I was on a construction site, yeah, I would get the XP. This is the XP model. It has a little more bells and whistles. They all have the lights. They're really great in dark areas. This one has a 3-speed, right? Like I showed it there. And I tried number 2. I can't really notice difference between the 2 and the 3. See, this one has the 1 speed, but the big thing is a variable speed. Like I heard on one of the things says, oh, they take off on me and I snap the screw. Right now the screw is hot because I'm going back and forth. Look at this. These are variable speed. We've always had these from day one, the variable speed. Even when I go on a slow speed and I start to crank, it's loud. Don't want to wake up the neighbors. You have control, and there is a bit of an art to running these. What I mean by that is, there is a bit of a skill. Now, would I start driving them with this drill? Not in a million years. If I have to go through this many screws on a job site, there's no way in hell I'm using this. This thing's going to burn out, whatever. So why'd you get it? Well, that's a good question. I use it, maybe a free drill. Does a nice fit. That's pretty decent. I don't like these keyless chucks. I've always hated them, but kind of going with the flow here on this one. When you're on install, I have that, then I can just screw in, no problem. It's a lot easier to screw in, But I'll put this to number 1 on this thing. That's a low speed apparently. Can't even turn it, eh? This has got to be the most useless thing. This 1, 2, 3 speed. If I'm paying for it, I don't think I want it. Because I don't really care. Like 2 or 3, what? That's 2. That's 3. I can't notice the difference. And I go back to the compact. I don't know why they call it compact. Because for me, the compact, I'd want it like this to get tight in these cabinets sometimes, But, look at that, no problem. It's not struggling as much, not kicking in that gear. It seems to be a little more torque than this one, the compact, which is about, I think, a $40 difference. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. I'm looking at these; they're all starting to look the same. Apologize. On this one, about $40 difference. Let's try because I'm getting a mistake there. For $40, having the extra speed as a drill, that is handy because, you don't want the hammer function to come in. Like if I want to use one of these drill bits, let's try the big drill bit, and I just do a quick connect. These are designed, you'll see a lot of this, and they're impact choice, or impact ready, whatever that means. There seems to be a lot of that. I think it's because there's... That's number 1. The number 1 speed is friggin' useless. I'm really starting to hate it. Okay, this is number 2. Yeah, no problem. Went through that like butter. And 3 had a little more of a kick. And let's try this one. I can't really notice the difference between these two. They're both put with 5-amp batteries. What I'm going to say is, should you buy the kit? If you're starting out and you're in the shop like here, yeah, I would most definitely buy the kit. And I want to show one thing, because there's also other comments on the Impact. Oh, they're so powerful and you know, they're not good for the wood shop and I should stick with the drill. No. Here's a drywall screw, which isn't very strong. I use a lot of them sometimes. I use them to hold in on top of the wood. You might say, why? I like them because the thread's right at the top. And the other reason, sometimes wood moves a lot. And I've seen it happen in hardwood. You put the wood screws in, you go in. I've seen the wood crack. I've seen drawer faces crack because of the screws, maybe not properly drilled. And if this is not properly drilled, this will just snap off. And I'd rather have that happen than, you know, having the screw, because if it goes a certain way, I'll guarantee you'll split the wood. But like, let's take a look at this. I mean, I don't care which one I take now, the two. I'm going to provide links for these where I think they're the best prices. I'm on the hunt for the best prices, so I'm going to pass that on. Let's try this. I'm going here. I'm just nice and flush, look at that, eh? And that's in, you know, Baltic birch. I didn't snap it off. I didn't go like a, you know, I'm not going to go like this. You know, I would on a construction site, but not woodworking. You can see the difference. I'm nice and level. I'm not level, and that's it. So these will be, I guess, for when we're on a job, whether we go on install or we work in the shop. You know, I bought another one of these, so I have like taken about 3. You know, we have employees, we have people, depending on me, to supply their tools, but that's another story. But I do think that, you know, carpenter, you're on a job site, you should at least have your own drills. Maybe not the batteries, but, you know, have your own drills so people aren't, you know, you're going to use this all the time. You don't want people messing or going grabbing a drill, and, you know, God knows where the guy's hand's been. So that's sort of my take. And on one of the videos, they said, well, why do you love DeWalt so much? If you look a little biased, are they starting to pay you money to do things? No. I get 0 cents. The reason why I like DeWalt, I used it when the first drills were in the 90s. I had my start in antiques, and when you did antiques, you had a drill, and you had to drill out dowels, everything else. My right arm, I used it all the time, and I got one of my first DeWalts. I'll never forget. It was in a box. I got a Canadian Tire. It was $90 in the 90s. That's equivalent today, probably like $300. And it was a little drill. I had a key chuck, and man, I didn't have battery power. They were just starting to come on the scene, very little. Milwaukee was the king at that time. They had the most expensive tools. But I couldn't afford Milwaukee when I was first starting out. And that drill was amazing. I had it for about over 10 years, to well into 2000. I went on construction sites, and I'd be like the king with that. It was a drill, it wasn't an impact. And, you know, screwing in everything, because I hated nails. I would never sit there and do renovations, start banging in wood. Yeah, no, I was more surgical, always have been. And I love that drill. That drill never burnt out. If it could happen. Then we slowly went in 2000 when we jumped on the batteries. It started to be better. And still, DeWalt started having more tools. Milwaukee totally dropped out in early 2000. I don't know where they went. Then about 10 years ago, out of nowhere, Milwaukee comes out, and we're back to being the kings. I don't know, they spent a lot of money. They went with the DIYers. But by that time, I was pretty happy with DeWalt. I had their tools. I've never had a tool burn out on a job, even though I'll have 2 drills, 4 drills, in case something happens. Because when I'm on that job site, I got to get out. Some people get, you know, a little edgy, and the last thing I want to think about is I got to run down to the store. I've had people not know how to use it and hurt tools. When I say that, they're not careful. Pin nailers going right into screws, just not really having a well thought out plan of what they're doing. So with that, that's the reason why I stick with DeWalt. Now I'm stuck with all their batteries over here. And I can't switch to Milwaukee. There's a couple of good Milwaukee tools I'd like to try, but it's kind of like I'm stuck. And DeWalt seems to be leading the way. Like, we had to buy new tools, and explain that later in another video. And they're really doing it all the way. Now, the big thing with the Impact is this. When you run it, this one's not as good as, let's see this one, a little 5/16. I don't know if they're metric Canadian. This is really what, like, I'm going through part of the board, but this is really I went in there really pretty easy. And you might say, okay, you're going to try it with the drill. I'm going to let that go because it's hot. Well, I'm going to put a brand new one to show. I got the drill setting because there is a setting right there for drill. A lot of people don't know what these mean. These mean less torque when you're going in, so you don't blast out. It really doesn't work well, in my opinion, those speed things, if you're in the shop. Just learn how to handle it. At least these things are variable speed, See, I can play a tune. Anybody name that tune? Go down in the comments below. Okay, here we go. Now I'm trying this. I'm not set up. I'm not here to prove that I'm right. I'll use the best tool anyway. It went through. Just notice how I had to hold it to my body like that, and I'll tell you why. It gets a torque. Anybody that's done 4-inch holes or anything big at the holes, they know when these things go, they can torque like that. I've had it happen, almost rip off my hands. I knew an electrician who had a big Milwaukee drill, and this was like a long time, 15 years ago, had it, and the drill took off and ripped his face off, like a scar right there. I wouldn't want to be there that day. So don't underestimate the power, but, well, why didn't this one do it? This has like a clutch in it. I don't know the exact mechanism, but I've never had it go like that. The clutch kind of lets go, and it's like almost like it senses how much to go and relax. This thing just basically turns. So I go now, and I'll tend, like for these long bits, like I was putting in a hole there, the house, and I'll use these, And find I have a lot more control. So if you're in the shop, I'd buy the set first, because there are times you're going to need to drill. You're going to need a little more finesse. But let's see how this one goes. Right away, you just feel it like just grabbing. Like I'm kind of. The other thing with these spade bits, see it there. They kind of, they get, as soon as you get a little bit of sawdust. But I did enjoy it more with this. I do have another drill that we recently bought. We'll do a review. It was only $330. It was cheaper than the other big drill I used to have, and to go into holes, because you are limited for certain things and certain jobs that you can do with this if you're in construction. So I'm going to give a rating, but before I do the rating, one last story, and I hope it helps. I think it was about 15 years ago when I first opened up the shop in this area. I had a big commercial job. I had to do all these offices, and I had to do framing. We used cherry. It was absolutely gorgeous. We made notches. It was a great job. Just shame about the people we worked for. But that's another story. But the thing was, I only really had the drills. Impacts weren't really on the seams. And man, were we frying through it. Even though we were pre-drilling, because I don't want to make it too sloppy, you know, I want this to really hold, because that was really the holding power. You're putting glass, and the last thing I wanted was one of those, I could only put so many screws in there, so I couldn't put like, you know, two, I only had like a little spot, like I barely put 2 screws, and I didn't want to split the wood. So I had a hell of a time, but ever since I've used these, this is the first tool to go in the box, first tool to come out of the box, first tool to go on a job site, first tool to leave. When I come back working in here, first thing in the van, I'll get this. So without further ado, my rating, like am I going to take any of these back? I'm not feeling it with this, but I don't know if it's my 90 days. Maybe I'll contact DeWalt. I'd rather have more, you know, for $50. Where's my rating? My rating is buying a pair. I'll put a link, what I think. On some of these you can get the pair with the hammer drill, but sometimes with the hammer drill they're only good for a little few top cons, and there's nothing worse than, this is underpowered for concrete. There's nothing worse than using underpowered tools. You're there and you have a hell of a time, even though you're a DIY. If I was doing a whole basement and I had to go through a lot of concrete, I'd get a concrete drill. I wouldn't try to use one of these as a concrete. How do I know? Because I tried. They just burn out the bits because they don't have the power of hitting in. So without further ado, you can't go wrong. This is what you're going to get. It's going to be, like I don't hand out 10s, but it's going to be 9.5. And that's it. Please subscribe. I'm almost at the point where we're what's called monetization, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, where you can make a couple of bucks. So I'm going to put links. I'm hoping to have it in the next few weeks, where if you buy from our links, we get a couple of bucks, all right? And I haven't put down, you know, buy us a coffee, but do support us. Hand out the videos, put us on Facebook. We're in a shop. It's real time. Like what I mean by that, we're using these tools, and this is how I make my living. So we try to give you an honest report, but in my opinion, DeWalt's leading it. As for Milwaukee, they turned me off on their chop saw. Like my first review 7 years ago, it just wasn't well thought out. But I'm not against Milwaukee. So if you go out and buy, say, a Milwaukee set like this, or a Roby, if you want to save a little bucks, but a Roby and DeWalt, you're not going to save much more, but then you're stuck with Roby batteries and then their tools, and their stuff it's not as good. If you're doing a whole house or a renovation or extension, these tools pay for themselves. So thank you again. Please subscribe.